you should do that.
So Joyce asked the question about the hurricane technique, also he called it the vortex technique, and those are both good names for it. And this is a kind of advanced version of doing the in technique. We don't usually teach it in the beginning, but because he's asked, I'm going to go ahead and explain it. Basically, it turns out after years and years of doing the in technique in the first way that you already have learned in this course, I started to have a number of experiences of getting very close to the energy, the sensation of the energy. And being so close to it, I started to notice that there was often a little sort of opening in the top of the energy field. And as I started to explore that, I found that the opening was the top of a kind of funnel or vortex that went right down the energy field all the way to the bottom. And it turned out that every single in-technique energy has this kind of hurricane-like structure. It's a kind of swirling energy, and it starts, you kind of have like from a satellite view, you can see sort of the top of it. And all you can see is this small hole of the opening. Now, in the beginning, when you're first starting to feel these energies, it's far too intense to get close to where the hole is. But after you've been doing it for a while, you start to get used to intensity, and it's like intensity becomes no big deal. And so you start to be able to get close enough to find that opening of the top of the vortex. And if you dive in or jump in or however you get in there, if you get inside, all of a sudden the intensity is basically gone because it's just swirling around you. You're not actually in it. You're in this kind of silent space that's inside the energy, and it's right in the center of that vortex that runs all the way down the hurricane-like structure all the way to the bottom. So what you do is you just sort of float down the vortex, kind of like paragliding. You jump in, you just glide down. Sometimes you'll see images or things like that on the sort of wall of the vortex, if you will. But you don't allow yourself to get sucked out into the energy of the hurricane. You just stay inside the vortex. And as you go down it further and further, you eventually come out the bottom into pure awareness. Now, this is very interesting because it's not so much feeling, or one way of saying it is that it's actually catching the feeling right at its inception, just as it's coming out of pure awareness. And so there's hardly any sensation at all. It's just more like floating down the center of the vortex. This tends to be faster than just feeling into the core of the feeling. And there's a kind of natural time at which you'll start to feel that you can do this. And that natural time will be when you become comfortable enough with intensity that intensity is just no big deal. So you get as close to you can as to the energy field, and you scan around, you find the opening at the top of the vortex, you jump in, and you glide down the center until you come out the bottom. Now, in answer to your question, Joaz, about sometimes you can do it, sometimes not, this is typically true in the beginning when you're still in the roller coaster learning curve of getting used to being okay with intensity. So as you become more and more used to intensity, the idea of getting as close to the energy as you can without feeling any resistance to that or without being concerned with being overwhelmed by that, then you start to become very easy to pretty much consistently find the opening and dive in. And so that usually handles the majority of, there'll still be occasions where what the body wants to do is it wants you to feel the actual energy for whatever reason. in which case you probably won't find it, and then you'll just find the intensity and start feeling down into it. You also may have experiences of feeling into it and having it at first be just feeling the intensity, but after a while, it sort of opens up that vortex like a sensation partway through, and then you go down the rest of the vortex. So that's a possibility too. There'll be a whole range of different experiences doing that, but I don't know if south of the equator the spinning goes the other way or not.
I sometimes find it hard to click in more.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel to me that that is necessarily because I'm so scared of the intensity, just that I don't really know how to do it very well.
So that's why the name of this class is Practice Makes Perfect. Because as you experience it more and more, you'll get the subtleties of all of that. You'll start to understand them more and more just by experimenting with it as you go.
Okay, sure.
Cool. And put the recording back on pause. Okay. So you can take a few moments and then just kind of comfortably, slowly open your eyes. All right. So let's hear a little report. What happened?
Okay. It was interesting. So as I was going in, I felt some fear or anxiety into having that change in my consciousness. So I knew that must be a gatekeeper of some sort, or just fear of not having that there. And it moved to an out technique. So when I did the out technique, just on that kind of gatekeeper energy, I went pretty quickly. Something happened, I can't remember what, and came back to the in technique energy. And then it was, it was weird because it seemed easy at first, like, oh, poof. But then it came back. It felt hard again. So I wonder about that, if it's a backup copy.
Sometimes the energy can be kind of in layers. You know, we've talked about the energy of a very similar. Okay, yeah. Talked about the energy of very similar kind of emotionally painful experience. If it's similar enough, then it's sort of like one version of the energy kind of layers on top of the other one. And sometimes they kind of enmesh within each other. It's just kind of like makes one bigger energy of the same kind. It's like you're storing it over itself in the same place. Other times, the layer that comes on top of the other one is sort of distinct. And so when you complete that one, it may seem that there's a gap or a difference between that and just continuing on into the same kind of energy. So the variety of the kinds of experiences you can have with, you know, the sort of stack of pancakes of the version, or the combined, kind of coalesced into one energy version, or the truly separated ones. And sometimes they can be stacked up and actually have a kind of different quality to the different layers of the stack. So the whole range of possibilities is there. And I'm assuming that you muscle tested this notion you had about the gatekeeper.
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay. Just wanted to
Yeah.
double check.
Word, but you basically say fear of living without that energy.
Yeah,
Mm.
commonly when you've had some form of conditioning for a long time, and it's been affecting your behavior, your experience of life, and you start doing a pure awareness technique that's going to eliminate that energy, you can definitely push up against a feeling of fear that if you've become quite identified with that sort of self-definition, then to have it change or go away, or some part of it go away, this can have a kind of uh, a cause for resisting change. And it's the resisting change part that causes you to feel, oh, I just can't do this. I just can't. It's like there's a iron gate or a brick wall or something you can't get through. And that's what we refer to as the first kind of gatekeeper. So yeah, that's exactly right. So you did it right. So it's good. So yeah, I would just say that when the energy is different, this is to be expected. This is normal. Okay. Sometimes it'll be the same, sometimes it'll be different. Sometimes it'll be the same energy, but stored in a different location in the body. So the whole range of possible ways that could be is there. And the basic thing to do with that, all of that, is just don't mind.
Mm.
Just go wherever the body says, hey, I want your attention over here. Then you go there, you give it your attention in the form of just noticing it, and gradually it'll fade away. Okay, good job. And good report. Okay, what else? Who else had something happen? Even if nothing happened, you can report.
Well, I had a statement that I made when I made my lists, and it had to do with following through, because I can make wonderful programs for myself and then I work them for a week or two and then I don't continue with them. And so I just said I asked to find anything in my body mind that was keeping me from being constant or loving myself enough to follow through or whatever. I muscle checked that there were 2 in techniques. I started the process, and uh, it proceeded as you said. Certain things disappear, and then there was a kind of a pancake thing, and then I started having memories from early childhood about non-constancy or whatever, but I didn't focus on anything. I just thought, well, this is kind of a fun and interesting thing, and they faded away, and now I feel really clear and centered and focused and more lovable than ever. And so thanks.
Hooray for freedom practice.
Yes, amen. Yeah.
Very successful session. Great. That sounds great. And sounds like you did just right, especially the part you said about all these things came up and you just didn't give them much attention. And that's exactly right, because most of that stuff, memories and ideas, most of that stuff is primarily content. And as you very well know, we're interested in the energy that's giving life to content. And exactly what you're experiencing is that when you complete the experience of those energies and they're actually gone, then you feel lighter, you feel more expansive, you feel free of that. There's a wonderful feeling of lightness that can come.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking forward to see whether that works out in life, whether I stay on programs longer,
Of
or
course.
perhaps I'm not meant to, perhaps I'm supposed to be the queen of research on 110 programs, who knows? I just would like to follow through on something.
Well,
We'll see.
the thought that I had, actually, there are two thoughts, having a second one now regarding this. It could very well be that when you do these, whatever the program is that you want to do, that you may reach some fulfillment of the actual purpose of starting that program much faster than you were expecting.
Mhm,
And if that's the case, that's certainly something you can muscle test.
mhm.
And you can also, you can test whether you can also test for the energy of your concern about whether it's been done thoroughly or not.
Mhm.
And those things would bring you some clarity of insight about whether there's really anything you need to do, whether you're the queen of creating programs and getting them done quickly, which could
No, because there's generally a goal, like lose 10 pounds or improve my computer skills. There's usually a goal. And I oftentimes in the past would get to 3/4 of the way there and then find something else to scoot off with. So
Right.
it's like completion. It's like achieving the goal. It's that little piece. So, or it was that little piece. So I'm curious to see,
Yeah,
what
it may
happens.
be that you have an attachment to a certain definition of what the goal is with your mind, and your body has a different idea about it.
Hmm.
Like your body may say, okay, that's enough. I got a higher priority for you. Come on over here.
Uh-huh.
So you can also test for that.
Uh-huh. Great idea.
Cool. Yeah, because, you know, there's some saying that was used in these advertisements for universities that were created for Black people. And the line in that commercial was, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste."
Uh-huh.
And what I would say is that mind is a terrible thing to keep. Now, the intellect and the mind are actually wonderful aspects of being human. The problem is that very interesting problem occurs, and that is that when we're very little, we get emotionally overwhelmed so many times that we develop a deep conditioning to get as far away from the overwhelm experience as possible, to minimize it. And what that does is it has a tendency to cause us to just in general not feel things so much and kind of resort to being a part of the sort of psychological based world that we live in, and think that understanding it is what's going to give you the answer that you're looking for. And that's a very broadly based kind of conditioning. I mean, this is pervasive and most of the planet has it. And so when you recognize that, then it makes it a little bit easier to start to incorporate the idea of emotions having content and energy. And especially as you get good at feeling the energy and it's not uncomfortable for you to do that. I mean, you still may feel that, oh, this is not a great, comfortable feeling, but you can easily do it because you have so much practice in doing it. It's not overwhelming. So as you cultivate that, then this experience of having the intellect sort of dominating your decision making, that starts to become less and less. And in fact, you may already have the experience. I'd be surprised if you don't, but there's a certain point where you just start to sense the perfection of things just as they are, without the intellect even needing to know. And I remember when I started to make that change, I started to feel I started to have some just knowing feeling, you know, like, oh, that has a kind of perfection to it, and I don't need to intellectually understand it. Now, prior to that, I always wanted to intellectually understand how it's perfect,
Mhm.
because I knew everything's perfect intellectually. I knew that. But when I started to notice that I could know something without the intellectual description being required or necessary, that started to happen more and more. And I really cultivated a state of being where I could know without needing the intellect to get it. And
Mhm.
that's actually very prevalent in my life now. There's so many things where I just know, and I don't have to kind of waste my intellectual energy on figuring it out, you know. So that might be something of use too.
Mhm.
Yeah, very good. Great experience. Cool. So, Joaz, did you try out the hurricane thing a bit?
Yeah, it works a little bit better.
Ah, good.
So with the fewer energies, so I had many layers again. With the fewer energies, I could do the hurricane technique, and then with a few other energies, I just did the normal in technique. So I didn't finish all the layers. It's been a thing for almost a whole week now, so many layers, but I got some progress in.
Excellent. Really, really good. Okay. Patty, anything?
No, not too much. I had been studying all night, so
A little
I'm just
sleepy.
a little bit sleepy, but not so much that. But my personality is kind of like here, there, and everywhere. So unless I'm concentrating on some issue, I just get flighty. So it takes me, if I'm doing something or if I'm having a conversation, things come up, and then I could say if I'm doing a session, then it's easy for me to get into the technique and resolve the matter.
Okay.
Or even if I'm studying something, say some of your work, then I go, oh yeah, I'll have a memory and I can stop right then and there and clear something up.
Okay. Okay.
But this morning I just couldn't settle on anything.
No problem. No problem. Very good. Anything else of a debrief for this particular session? Good. So we're okay. So I think it would be valuable, and we certainly have the time, to do another 20 minutes of freedom practice and see what comes up in this particular session. You guys up for that? It's okay? Okay, great. Great. So let's do that. I'll set the timer again, and we'll go ahead and start. And we'll do just as we did before. I'll put the recording on pause and unpause it if we have anything to discuss. And certainly feel very welcome to ask questions during it if they come up. Okay, here we go. Okay. So again, take a few moments or minutes to comfortably open your eyes. And we'll do another debriefing. I'll just insert here for those who are watching the recording, because we put the time on pause, you can put the recording on pause and do your own freedom practice and then listen to the comments, or just listen to the comments, that's fine. The discussion, answering of questions and so forth. Your choice, either way is fine. So, how did it go? Anything new to report?
Yes, I went looking for trouble. So I just went to yeah, I just flipped open the 12 causes there and looked at things that I've been avoiding and suppressing. So immediately a memory comes up of something that had happened at the first party I ever went to when I was a teenager. Yeah, so it, lots of emotions came up. So I had something to deal with, both in and out. And I think I'll have to go back and do another round on that as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, very good. So the beautiful thing is that we now have a simple methodology for accessing this emotional garbage we've been carrying around our whole life. And when we have a lot of that stuff, it definitely has a kind of masking effect on our access to our intuition, our inner knowing. And so to clean this stuff up is a wonderful thing to do. It's absolutely incredible that we have this fantastic, simple methodology for cleaning up the inner emotional landscape more and more and more, so that we start functioning from intuition more and more, basically living more and more from pure awareness. So good job, Patty. That was great. Okay, good. Anyone else? Anything to report? Susanna?
Yes. Okay. The process is still going on as I've opened my eyes and I'm sharing. I think it will continue for a while. It's like that feeling of not wanting to wake up from the dream because you want to see the end.
I know that one. Yeah.
This ability in the freedom practice to say, okay, I have to do this now, but I don't want to lose where I was. So after this call, I can go right back to it. And that's why I'm a little borderline emotional, because a very simple, seemed like ordinary energy of judging myself came up. And it blows my mind that a simple energy of judging myself, because I'm working on being able to make choices of what to do in every moment. And judging myself keeps me from being able to do what I intuitively want to do. And it blows my mind that went into an identification with someone else because of muscle testing. So an identification with someone else doing this intense judgment in the family that's carried down through the ancestry to me. My grandfathers are not that far back. And I would not know this. I would not have any idea. It's been building up for a while, my attention to it. And just that eye of judgment from him to my mother to me can cause, it became this huge, dark, frightening thing. It's right. So a freedom practice, probably with all my experience, can turn into something more.
Excellent. Well, this is really good. This is exactly why we're doing it, is to dig out these old relics and get the energy out of your body.
Yeah.
So good job. Very good.
Thanks.
Excellent. Good. So anyone else? Anything to report? So when you do the freedom practice on a daily basis, during the first phase of it, which all of you are well past, those who are watching the video maybe just starting, what you do is you do the freedom practice for your 20 or 30 minutes, whatever you can take time for. And then at some point during the day, either right away while it's fresh in your mind, or perhaps in the evening, just entirely your choice, you make a little freedom practice report, and you'll be posting it to a group. We're just in the process of changing group systems. So you'll be, once you sign up for this program, you'll be on our list, and we'll keep you posted as to where the freedom practice reports will go. We also have the vast majority of the training videos as videos embedded in or linked to from the Inner Greatness Global website. And so we'll make sure that you have access to the index page where all those recordings are listed. So very good. So thank you so much for participating in this course. And we'll hope to see you in some of the advanced trainings, and also especially hope to see you in the discussion group that you'll be joining, where you can post your freedom practice reports. And want to wish you all the best. May you rapidly create a state of being in which you can respond spontaneously to the needs of every moment with the fullness of your being, and live in the continuous experience of wholeness. So thanks again for joining, and we'll see you at one of the other courses. All the best. Take care.